Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Rain fell in thin curtains over the streets of Baltimore, mingling neon reflections with splashes of wet tar. The streetlights cast a yellowish glow, broken by the mist, and each puddle reflected the city like a shattered mirror. In this damp darkness, a car glided gently, its tires barely crunching on the wet asphalt. Behind the wheel, Marcus Hayes watched the traffic. 33 years old, tall and stocky, his face etched with fatigue but still showing concentration, he wore a dark raincoat over his understated suit. For weeks, he had been working on a massive fraud investigation involving several banks and security companies. Finally, the last hearing of the day over, he headed back to his apartment to be with his wife, Elena, and their 2 children. Marcus was known for his discipline, his rigor, and his unwavering composure. But that night, he felt a different kind of weight. A dull sensation, as if something in the city was staring at him. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, adjusted the seat, and took a deep breath. Everything was going to be all right, or so he thought. At the intersection of Charles Street, a flash of red and blue light ripped through the night. A police car screeched to a halt in front of him. The white officer, Raymond Cole, stepped out, his figure stiff, his face closed, his features tense with invisible irritation. Marcus slowed down, rolled down the window, and gave a polite salute. "Good evening, officer. Have I done something wrong?" Cole looked at him, but not really. To him, Marcus wasn't an FBI agent. To him, Marcus was simply a black man driving a car that didn't look like his. He didn't see the FBI badge Marcus was trying to show him. He didn't see the precise, calm movements of a trained professional. All he saw was the color of the skin and the potential to humiliate him. "Get out of the vehicle!" Cole yelled, without even thinking. His voice was sharp, authoritative, aggressive. Passers-by heading home with umbrellas stopped to watch. The streetlights captured the scene like a movie, a calm black man with his hands on the steering wheel, a stiff white man barking orders. Marcus immediately understood that this was not a simple traffic stop. He stood up slowly, his hands clearly visible, and said, "I'm an FBI special agent. Here's my badge." Cole frowned, but didn't stop. In his mind, Marcus was already a potential criminal, an intruder in the city, a target for his misplaced authority. The conflict that would follow wouldn't just be a clash between 2 men. It would symbolize everything Marcus had fought against throughout his career: injustice, racism, and the violence of prejudice. As the rain fell, the drops hitting the hood and the pavement, Marcus felt his heart race. But behind this tension lay his strength, calm, practiced, clear-headed. He knew every move mattered. And in the shadows of that rainy night, fate had just placed in his path a man who would pay the price for his racism, but only after the truth had become undeniable and public. The rain continued to fall, creating a fine mist around Charles Street. Marcus's car headlights reflected in the puddles, illuminating Raymond Cole's tense face. Officer Hayes had placed his hands on the steering wheel, showing he had no intention of resisting. "Get out of the vehicle!" Cole yelled, his voice echoing off the wet asphalt. Marcus took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. Every movement was calculated. "Officer, I'm an FBI special agent. Here's my badge." He slowly handed over his federal ID, his gaze fixed on Cole, trying to find a glimmer of rationality in his eyes. Cole narrowed his eyes and turned his head away. "Spare me this. I want to see you out now." Marcus hesitated for a second, thinking. He knew every gesture could be misinterpreted. Slowly, he opened the car door, held his hands out in plain sight, and reversed to the sidewalk. Passers-by had stopped, some raising their phones to film. The humiliation was already public, and Cole knew it. But his pride prevented him from backing down. "Don't make a sudden movement," Cole growled. "I won't do anything," Marcus replied calmly. His eyes scanned the situation, assessing the distances and Cole's strength. He knew he had to remain calm so as not to give Cole any pretext for violence. At that moment, Lauren Price, Marcus's colleague, came running up. She had received his silent call. "Mr. Cole, back away. He's a federal agent." Cole looked at her contemptuously. "That guy is insolent. He doesn't respect the law." Marcus interjected, "I'm fully cooperating. But your accusations are unfounded. You're harassing me because I'm black." Cole's face twisted in anger. "Watch out, you don't talk to me like that." Cole tried to position Marcus against the car, but Marcus calmly stabilized himself. Every movement of Marcus was precise, measured, a blend of technique and restraint. Passers-by were filming, some whispering, others shouting, "Hey! Stop!" The driving rain created an unreal atmosphere, as if the whole world were holding its breath. Marcus felt his heart racing, but he didn't lose his composure. He knew his rights, he knew the procedure, every action Cole took was documented, every word recorded by city cameras and passers-by's phones. "You are under arrest," Cole yelled, trying to sound authoritative. Marcus tilted his head slightly, staring into Cole's eyes. "Why exactly?" he asked. Cole stammered, searching for an excuse. "Erratic driving." Marcus, impassive, replied, "You are abusing your authority. Every move is recorded." Frustrated, Cole swore and turned to his vehicle to call for backup. But it was too late. The video, the witnesses, and Marcus's courage and dignity had just transformed what could have been a simple case of abuse into irrefutable proof of injustice. Lauren took Marcus's hand. "Hold on. Everything will be all right." Marcus took a deep breath, knowing the night had just taken a dramatic turn. This was no longer just a traffic stop. It was a battle for his dignity, his career, and justice. And Cole, despite his anger, would soon pay the price for his prejudices. The next morning, Marcus Hayes sat in the FBI's silent office, surrounded by stacks of files and computer screens. The rain had stopped, but the city still seemed to tremble from the aftermath of the previous night. Footage of the arrest had already circulated on social media, shared hundreds of times. Marcus had watched it himself, every move Cole made, every aggressive command, every moment he was treated like a criminal was clearly visible. "Did you see this?" asked Lauren Price, her colleague, placing a USB key on the desk. "Municipal dashcam footage, business cameras, videos of passers-by, it's all here." Marcus nodded impassively. He can't deny what he did. It's all recorded. Lauren sat down opposite him, her face grave. "The videos are already going viral. Civil rights groups are starting to mobilize. If Cole thinks this will go unnoticed, he's mistaken." The FBI had opened an internal investigation immediately after the arrest. All protocols were followed, Marcus had given his statement, medical examinations had been completed, and every witness testimony was recorded. But the tension remained palpable. Cole, for his part, had been placed on administrative leave, but he was desperately trying to control the narrative. "I spoke to his superiors," Marcus said, adjusting his tie. "He's preparing a version where I'm the one who provoked him." Lauren sighed. "You know it won't have any effect against the evidence. Every camera, every witness, everything incriminates him." Meanwhile, the local press seized upon the case. Reporters crowded outside the police station and the FBI office, and social media flooded with hashtags, #Justice for Marcus, #Racist Police, #FBI vs Cole. The videos showed Marcus calm and composed, while Cole appeared brusque, authoritarian, and aggressive. Public opinion was divided, with some denouncing racism and abuse of power, while others sought to rationalize the officer's behavior. At home, Marcus explained the situation to Elena, his wife, and their children. "I'm fine. But what he did wasn't right." His voice trembled slightly, not with fear, but with suppressed anger. Elena squeezed his hand, knowing this fight would be long and exhausting. The city prosecutor announced an independent investigation. Federal agents were called in to assist, and Marcus unwittingly became the face of a case that went far beyond a simple arrest. Isolated and furious, Cole began to realize that his career and reputation were at stake. Every action Marcus took, every testimony, and every video clip was stacked against him. This chapter in Marcus's life was not just a personal ordeal. He became a symbol, a black man, an FBI agent, humiliated by a racist police officer, but ready to defend his dignity and impose the truth, regardless of the resistance. The city held its breath. The coming days promised confrontation, tension, and public revelations. And Marcus knew that the battle for justice was only just beginning. A few weeks later, the Baltimore courtroom was packed. Journalists occupied the seats reserved for the press, their cameras trained on the scene. Civil rights groups were present, and even some bystanders who had filmed the arrest had come to testify. The atmosphere was electric, a mixture of anticipation, anger, and curiosity. In the center, Marcus Hayes entered calmly, his dark raincoat draped over his shoulders. Beside him, Lauren Price and 2 FBI colleagues stood supporting him. They all knew that this trial would not simply be Marcus's defense, but a signal to the entire city: racism and abuse of power would no longer be tolerated. Raymond Cole, in his police uniform, looked tense. He clenched his fists and glanced nervously around the room, aware that the video of his arrest, his gestures, and his humiliating words would be key to the trial. Judge Eleanor Whitman entered. Her presence commanded respect. She fixed Cole with a piercing gaze before addressing the courtroom. "We are gathered here to judge the conduct of Officer Raymond Cole towards Special Agent Marcus Hayes. We ask everyone to remain calm and respect procedures." Special Prosecutor David Reynolds rose. "Your Honor, we have video evidence, testimony from civilian witnesses and police officers, and internal FBI evidence confirming the wrongful arrest. Officer Hayes was targeted because of his race and status." Lauren Price was called to testify first. She described the arrest, how Cole had ignored the FBI card, how he had tried to shove Marcus against the car, and how Marcus had remained calm despite the threats and humiliation. Her eyes shone with sincerity. Then came the civilian witnesses. Each confirmed what the cameras had shown: Marcus cooperating, Cole intimidating him, and the racist and unjustified behavior of the police officer. Marcus was called to testify. He stood up slowly, looked at Cole and spoke in a clear, calm, but firm voice. "I am an FBI special agent. I fully cooperated with the officer. Yet, I was treated like a criminal. I did nothing to justify this arrest. That night, I felt humiliation, fear, and injustice. And it wasn't just me. It could have been anyone in my community." Cole tried to respond, seeking to justify himself. "I was stressed. He wasn't cooperating." Marcus shook his head slightly. "Everything is recorded, officer. Your actions, your words, everything. You can't erase the truth." The room remained silent for a few seconds, the weight of those words hanging in the air. Even some of the police officers present lowered their eyes. After several hours of testimony, videos, and debates, Judge Eleanor Whitman rose to give her decision. "Raymond Cole, you abused your authority and violated the civil rights of Officer Marcus Hayes. You are found guilty. The sentence will include the immediate removal of your weapon, your permanent suspension, and additional civil penalties." A murmur rippled through the room. Cole, pale as a ghost, understood that his career was over. Marcus, on the other hand, remained calm, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. Justice had triumphed, even if the psychological scars remained. Outside the courthouse, the press bombarded Marcus with questions. He responded with dignity. "This is not just my victory. It is a victory for all those who have been victims of injustice. Truth must always prevail over prejudice." And for the first time since the arrest, Marcus felt that the path to redemption could begin. A few weeks after the verdict, Marcus Hayes walked the streets of Baltimore with a strange feeling, a mixture of relief and vigilance. The rain had given way to a timid sun, but the city seemed transformed. The videos of the arrest had become a training tool. They were used to train new police officers, to raise public awareness, and to show what should never happen again. Raymond Cole, for his part, was now isolated. Dismissed, stripped of his weapon, and publicly discredited, he had to face the consequences of his actions. His superiors had sidelined him, the press relentlessly reported his abuses, and civil rights organizations demanded justice for every victim of similar injustice. The shadow of humiliation inflicted upon him by the truth weighed far more heavily than any official sanction. Marcus, despite his own psychological wounds, chose to transform this ordeal into an opportunity. He organized public talks in schools, community centers, and professional forums to explain the importance of justice, dignity, and equal rights. His words inspired not through anger, but through example. One Saturday afternoon, Marcus took his 7-year-old daughter, Amelia, to a park. She ran towards the slide, laughing despite the cold wind. Marcus followed her, a quiet smile on his face. "Dad, I want to be a police officer when I grow up," she said, panting with joy. Marcus knelt down to look her in the eyes. "Then you will show us how to do better. You will protect others and you will uphold justice." At home, Elena watched him, aware of her husband's inner strength. "You paid the price for the truth," she said softly. Marcus nodded. "Yes, and now we must make sure no one else pays it in the same way." The FBI strengthened protocols for plainclothes agents, improving cooperation with local law enforcement. Videos of the arrest and court documents were used to train police on racial bias and abuse of power. As for Cole, he remained in bitter silence for a long time, forced to confront his prejudices, his arrogance, and his own inability to exercise just authority. His world had collapsed, and even redemption seemed out of reach. For Marcus, the battle wasn't over. But he had regained his dignity, his family, and his purpose. He had shown that justice could prevail, even in the face of prejudice and corruption. And in the heart of his city, he had sown a seed, the seed of education, responsibility, and respect, so that the next generation might live in a more just world. As the sun set over Baltimore, Marcus watched the city from his apartment. Every light in the night reminded him that, even in the shadows, the truth always finds a way to be heard. And he, Marcus Hayes, would continue to defend it, no matter the cost.